All across the galaxy, a billion hearts pounded in terror at the mere mention of the Iridians, but not the humans. They never got the memo. For eons, the Iridians had conquered and subjugated countless worlds through sheer intimidation. Commander Thule reveled in the fear he instilled as he crushed civilizations beneath his armored boots. But now reports of an uncharted planet reached his ears, a blue marble called Earth. Thule dispatched scout ships to assess these new creatures, these humans. To his shock, the humans showed no fear, even when face-to-face with the horrific Iridian scouts. A mere human, a former soldier named Donald Rogers, had the audacity to approach the scouts, unarmed and unafraid. Rogers stared them down until they turned tail and ran. Thule's indignation burned hotter than a supernova. He would make an example of these arrogant earthlings. The Iridian war fleet assembled, an armada of nightmares ready to descend on the unsuspecting planet and enslave all humanity. But Rogers intercepted the Iridians' communications. He and his team raced to warn Earth's nations of the coming storm. Dread and panic gripped the globe at news of this alien threat. And yet, in the face of utter annihilation, the humans did not cower. They stood as one. Borders and old conflicts forgotten, all of Earth rallied to defend their home. Farmers, teachers, taxi drivers, and grandmothers lined up to serve alongside soldiers and scientists. Rogers emerged as a beacon in the darkness, drawing on a lifetime of battle-hardened experience to lead the resistance. All of humanity readied for the fight of their lives as the Iridian fleet eclipsed the sun. If the humans failed here, it would mean the end, not just for their world, but their entire species. This was it. This was humanity's last stand. As the Iridian fleet cast an ominous shadow over Earth, Donald Rogers refused to let fear cloud his mind. He gathered his team of battle-hardened explorers, each one hand-picked for their unrivaled skills and unyielding courage. Among them was Jack Thompson, Donald's longtime friend and a fellow Special Forces veteran. Together, they hatched a daring plan to infiltrate the Iridian command ship and strike at the heart of the invading force. Earth's brightest minds had been working tirelessly, developing cutting-edge stealth technology that would give Donald's team a fighting chance. With this tech in hand, they secretly boarded the alien vessel, slipping past the Iridian defenses like ghosts in the night. Inside the belly of the beast, the team navigated through the labyrinthine corridors, their senses heightened, ready for any sign of danger. Iridian guards patrolled the ship, their grotesque forms casting eerie shadows on the walls. Donald and Jack led the charge, their weapons at the ready, as they engaged the enemy in intense close-quarters combat. Laser fire illuminated the narrow passageways as the team pushed forward, their determination unwavering in the face of overwhelming odds. Donald and Jack's exceptional training shone through, their movements fluid and precise, inspiring their comrades to fight with renewed fervor. As they neared the ship's control center, a menacing figure emerged from the shadows, Commander Thule himself. The Iridian leader's eyes burned with a malevolent fury as he locked onto Donald. In that moment, the fate of two worlds hung in the balance. Thule lunged at Donald, his alien strength and advanced technology making him a formidable foe. But Donald refused to yield, his own willpower and ingenuity proving to be a match for the Iridian commander. They clashed in a brutal hand-to-hand fight, trading blows that would have shattered lesser beings. Meanwhile, in the skies above Earth, the united human forces engaged the Iridian fleet in a spectacular display of courage and defiance. Fighter pilots from nations once divided now fought as one, their innovative tactics allowing them to outmaneuver the technologically superior Iridian ships. Missiles streaked across the void, launched from ground-based defenses, while hackers worked tirelessly to disrupt the enemy's communication networks. The battle raged on, the void of space lit up by the fiery bloom of explosions. Both sides suffered heavy losses, the toll of war painting a grim picture of the desperate struggle for survival. Back on the Iridian command ship, Donald's team finally reached the control center, their hearts pounding with the knowledge that the fate of Earth rested on their shoulders. They worked with focused intensity, sabotaging the ship's systems, aiming to disable its weapons and shields. But their progress was met with fierce resistance from Iridian technicians and soldiers, laser fire filling the room as they fought to protect their vessel. Jack, drawing upon his expertise in explosives, set charges on critical components, his fingers working with practiced precision. Just as they were on the cusp of success, Commander Thule, battered but far from defeated, burst into the control center. His eyes locked onto Donald once more, and the two leaders charged at each other, their final confrontation fueled by an unwavering drive to protect their respective species. As Donald and Thule traded blows, the fate of Earth hung by a thread. The Iridian ship trembled, the charges set by Jack threatening to tear it apart. The team worked frantically, pushing past their own limits, knowing that failure was not an option. The battle for Earth had reached its climax, the future of humanity balanced on a knife's edge. In that moment, as Donald and Thule clashed in a dance of life and death, the universe held its breath, waiting to see which species would emerge victorious. Donald Rogers stumbled, his muscles screaming in protest as he dodged another vicious swipe from Commander Thule. The Iridian towered over him, all sinewy strength and alien ferocity, but Donald refused to back down. He feinted left, then drove his fist into a weak spot in Thule's armor. The commander bellowed in pain. Donald pressed his advantage, landing blow after calculated blow. Each strike chipped away at Thule's seemingly impenetrable defense. Across the control room, Jack Thompson saw his friend's relentless assault. "Keep pushing," he shouted to the team as they fought off waves of Iridian soldiers. Inspired by Donald's unwavering spirit, they redoubled their efforts. Meanwhile, in the void of space, Earth's united fleet danced between enemy ships. Fighter pilots pulled off maneuvers thought impossible, their coordination allowing them to disable Iridian vessels with surgical precision. But then, a massive shape emerged from the darkness. The Iridian dreadnought dwarfed everything else on the battlefield. Its weapons flared to life, unleashing devastation upon the human forces. "Evasive maneuvers!" Maria Santos barked into her comms as she yanked her fighter into a wild spin. All around her, human ships scattered like leaves in a hurricane. But it wasn't enough. The dreadnought's barrage tore through their lines, vaporizing ships and snuffing out lives in an instant. Maria gritted her teeth. "This ends now," she muttered. She pushed her engines to the limit, corkscrewing through the debris field. Warning klaxons blared in her cockpit as she skimmed the dreadnought's hull, searching for a weakness. There, a seam in the armor plating. Maria fired everything she had, her missiles striking true. The dreadnought's main weapon sputtered and died. Back on the command ship, Jack's fingers flew over the detonator. "Fire in the hole!" he yelled. The explosives ripped through the ship's systems, alarms blaring as consoles sparked and died. Donald saw his chance. As Thule stumbled, disoriented by the blast, Donald launched himself forward. His fist connected with bone-crushing force, and the feared Iridian commander crumpled to the floor. Panting heavily, Donald staggered to the main control panel. His team swarmed around him, fingers flying over alien interfaces. "Initiating shutdown sequence," one of them called out. A wave of energy pulsed outward, and across the battlefield, Iridian ships went dark. The human fleet, seizing their moment, surged forward. Boarding parties swarmed onto defenseless alien vessels. In the command ship's bridge, a battered Iridian officer approached Donald. "We surrender," he croaked. As word of their victory spread, cheers erupted across Earth's communications channels. People poured into the streets, embracing strangers and weeping with joy. Donald Rogers stood tall amidst the chaos of the captured command ship, his determination unbroken. Little did he know that even now, news of Earth's triumph raced across the stars. On 1,000 worlds, oppressed races looked to the skies with newfound hope. The age of Iridian dominance was over. The echoes of Earth's victory reverberated across the stars. Donald Rogers stood on the bridge of the captured Iridian command ship, his eyes fixed on the holographic display before him. Messages poured in from 100 worlds, each one telling the same story. Hope had spread like wildfire. Another uprising on Vega 9, Jack Thompson reported, his fingers dancing across the alien controls. They've taken control of the spaceport. Donald nodded, a grim smile on his face. It's happening everywhere. The Iridians thought fear would keep their empire in line. They never counted on courage being contagious. As the days passed, more and more alien representatives arrived. Some came in battered freighters, others in sleek ships that had once belonged to their oppressors. Donald greeted each one personally, listening to their stories and gauging their grit. Among them was Zara of Kretos, her emerald skin marked with the scars of rebellion. She strode onto the command deck, her presence electric. "So, you're the human who brought the Iridians to their knees," she said, her voice a low growl. Donald met her gaze. "We all did. Every person who stood up and said no more." Zara's eyes narrowed, then she broke into a fierce grin. "I like you, Donald Rogers. Now, let's talk about how we're going to burn the Iridian Empire to the ground." In the weeks that followed, a plan took shape. Donald and Zara pored over star charts and tactical readouts, debating strategies late into the night. Their goal was audacious, a direct assault on Iridia Prime itself. "We'll need every ship, every fighter we can muster," Donald said, gesturing to the holographic image of the Iridian homeworld. Zara nodded. "My people will lead the ground assault. We've been waiting centuries for this chance." The day of reckoning arrived. A ragtag armada of Earth ships and alien vessels dropped out of hyperspace above Iridia Prime. Alarms blared across the Iridian defense grid as the rebel fleet engaged. Donald's voice crackled over the comms. "All wings, report in. Red leader standing by. Green leader standing by. Blue leader standing by." The space battle erupted in a fury of laser fire and explosions. Earth fighters wove between massive Iridian cruisers, their pilots pulling off maneuvers that left their alien allies in awe. On the planet's surface, Zara led her troops through the streets of the Iridian capital. They fought block by block, trading fire with Iridian soldiers from behind makeshift barricades. "Push forward," Zara shouted, her voice carrying over the din of battle. "For Krytos! For freedom!" As the rebels gained ground both in space and on the surface, Donald assembled a strike team, their target, the Imperial Palace at the heart of the city. "Jack, you're with me," Donald said, checking his weapon. "We end this today." They infiltrated the palace through service tunnels, dispatching Iridian guards with practiced efficiency. But as they burst into the council chambers, they found only empty seats. "Damn it, they're gone," Jack cursed. A slow clap echoed through the room. Donald spun, his blood running cold as a familiar figure stepped from the shadows. "Well done, Donald Rogers," Commander Thule sneered. "You've come so far, only to fail at the final hurdle." Donald raised his weapon. "This ends now, Thule, one way or another." The two leaders circled each other, the sounds of battle raging outside. Then, with a roar of fury, they charged. The fate of the stars hung in the balance as Donald Rogers and Commander Thule clashed once more. Donald Rogers and Commander Thule circled each other in the Imperial Palace's grand chamber. Sweat glistened on Donald's brow as he watched Thule's every move. The Iridian's eyes burned with hatred. Thule struck first, his clawed hand slashing through the air. Donald ducked, feeling the wind of the attack brush his hair. He countered with a swift uppercut that caught Thule under the chin. The Iridian staggered back, spitting green blood. Around them, chaos reigned. Rebel soldiers exchanged fire with Iridian guards. The acrid smell of ozone filled the air as energy weapons discharged. Bodies littered the ornate floor, both human and alien. "You've lost, Thule," Donald growled. "Surrender now." Thule's laugh was cold and cruel. "Never." They clashed again, trading blows at lightning speed. Donald's fist connected with Thule's face, while the Iridian's knee drove into Donald's stomach. Both fighters grunted in pain but refused to yield. Meanwhile, deep beneath the palace, Zara led her team through winding corridors. They encountered heavy resistance, Iridian elite guards throwing themselves at the rebels with fanatical devotion. "Push through," Zara shouted, her emerald skin gleaming with sweat. "The council chamber is just ahead." Her team surged forward, their weapons blazing. They breached the final set of blast doors, only to find a gruesome sight. The Iridian counselors lay dead, victims of their own hand. Zara cursed. "We're too late." Back in the throne room, Donald and Thul's duel reached its zenith. Both were bloodied and exhausted, but neither would back down. Suddenly, Thul's hand darted to a device on his belt. "If I can't have this world," Thule snarled, "no one will." He activated the failsafe. Alarms blared throughout the palace as the reactor core began to overload. Donald's eyes widened as he realized the implications. Without hesitation, Donald hurled himself at Thule. They grappled, teetering on the edge of a maintenance shaft that led straight to the reactor. Donald knew what he had to do. "For Earth," he whispered. With a mighty heave, he threw both himself and Thule into the abyss. They plummeted through darkness, the heat of the reactor growing intense. Donald could hear Thule's screams of rage as they fell. The core loomed below, a churning inferno of energy. As they hit the surface, a blinding light engulfed them. Donald felt searing pain, then darkness. Zara felt the first tremors as she ordered the evacuation. "Everyone out! The planet's going to blow!" Rebel ships launched frantically from the surface as Iridia Prime tore itself apart. From orbit, they watched in stunned silence as the planet became a roiling ball of fire. "Wait!" Jack Thompson's voice cut through the comm chatter. "I'm picking up a signal. It's Donald!" A battered escape pod drifted into view. Inside, they found Donald Rogers, barely clinging to life. His skin was an angry red, blistered from radiation. Jack cradled his friend's head. "You crazy bastard," he said, tears in his eyes. "You did it." Donald's voice was weak. "Not me, all of us." As medics rushed to treat him, Donald gathered the rebel leaders. His time was short, and he knew it. "Listen," he rasped. "What we've done here, it's only the beginning. Build something better, something worthy." Zara took his hand, her eyes shining. "We will," she promised. "Your sacrifice won't be in vain." Donald's gaze drifted to the viewport where Iridia Prime still burned. "Freedom," he whispered. "It's worth fighting for." With those words, Donald Rogers closed his eyes for the final time. The rebels stood in silence, honoring the man who had given everything for their cause. As their ships turned away from the ruins of the Iridian homeworld, a new chapter in galactic history began. The rebels carried with them the weight of Donald's sacrifice and the hope for a brighter future.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.